All right. So, welcome back to Courtney Wallace Sports. And today we're going to be talking hoops. Now, we've done a lot of hoops, whether you've been on this side of the channel or on Sunshine State Broadcasting. We've just done a whole lot of basketball. And of course, for those of you who know me, I was heavily involved in basketball back in the day. As a matter of fact, our guest today did remind me some time ago that he remembers me from my day in basketball. So I want to welcome today Coach Sullivan, Coach Damon Sullivan. Coach,
Thanks
welcome.
for having me. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, and I mean your list of responsibilities right now, tall. You're the senior team, the senior men's team assistant coach,
Right.
which means that you're just coming off a very let's say a tremendous achievement with the men's team with recent happenings. But we also have to talk about you're the national under 20 coach.
Right. I've been just recently appointed as the national under 20 coach. We're presently trying to assemble the team and the staff right now.
Right. But also, here's what you don't need to assemble is your team at Manchester High, Chester, because
Yeah.
you've had this. You've been at Chester now for how long?
I've been there since 2008.
2008. So you've had a, a long time to build a program, and obviously you've built a very successful program there.
Yeah, man. When I started well, normally Manchester High is a dominant program before even I got there, but they had a spell of 3 to 4 years where I think some decline took place. So I ended up taking up a program from there, basically from scratch, and slowly put it together to where I want it.
Right, and obviously where you want it is that no, you're basically the national champions.
Well, I am two-time national champions. I just recently defended my championship, so
Right,
it's a
right.
wonderful feeling.
But of course, it has to be. And of course, I don't know. I think I probably told you before that I did spend some years of my high school life at Chester. So
Okay.
for every win and for every success of Chester, I take that a little bit personal. Yeah, man. But congratulations. But talk to me now. In a country like Jamaica, where traditionally, like when I don't remember if when I was at Chester, basketball was even a thing. I mean, growing up in Jamaica, basketball really wasn't a thing. The um the big explosion of basketball came, I think, in probably the early 90s, when I think it was CVM TV started to broadcast the NBA every night, almost every night. And I think basketball took off where it became, I was known as the fastest growing sport because at that time on every street corner, man would take bicycle hoop, get a piece of board, make a backboard, and
Get
nail it
that
up on
straight.
right, nail it up on the on the light pole.
Right.
And basketball really took off, and we had a big renaissance. But talk to me about building a program in a country that's not traditionally a basketball country.
Well, it's one. Let's start by our major issue. One of the main issues we have is that we have no mini league. We have no involvement for prep and primary. So what we have been able to do thus far is outstanding. So most of the kids start basketball at age 12, 13 when they enter high school. If they start before, probably they have a bigger brother or a bigger sister who is involved in the sport, so they have an idea of what it is. Uh, one of the key things for us at Manchester High, we're really dominant in the rural area. So to maintain that, at times we have to go to the urban area to see games and stuff before the season. But it's still a fast growing sport. Um, but we really want to tap into the prep and primary so we can have a stronger development phase.
Well, you kind of jumped the gun on me there a bit because you spoke of the that comparison between the rural and the urban areas. Now, when I was in basketball administration, I used to tell people, especially because, our administration, national administration, was town heavy, Kingston heavy.
Yeah.
And they expected the people in the rural areas to manage basketball the way basketball can be managed in Kingston. And I tell them no, because when I run a league in Ocho Rios and there are people coming from Brownstone to participate in the league, do you know what it takes for a team to travel over
Bro,
20
so
miles to
yeah,
get to
yeah.
Ocho Rios in terms of cost and time and all of
Cut.
that?
Right, right.
So because of that, the people in the urban areas, they usually, well, urban meaning Kingston and I guess Spanish Town,
Yeah.
Kingston, St. Andrew,
Spanish
and
town.
Spanish Town,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they have the advantage that they usually are able to put together even thin resources and make things happen. Now you've been able to put together a team, a rural team that has not only competed with the urban team but have beaten them consistently. How have you managed that?
Well, it's a matter of networking. I communicate with a lot of persons overseas. One namely Andre Smith, who is in the Miami region. He's a former national player as well. He runs his ASAP basketball in Miami. So another thing is that with the Star Search camp here for a couple of years, um, I think Canada had their explosion in terms of basketball. And I think for a couple of years, a couple of coaches came down and shared their idea of how they were able to organize their basketball to compete with the US. Now, we don't have the resources to compete with the US in Jamaica, but I use those very same resources to get my team to be able to compete and as I said, defeat the urban teams.
Right, and of course, you mentioned earlier that it's hard to build any form of a youth program when you don't have mini leagues. Like for where I'm at, I mean, the basketball starts basically from in the womb. Kids come out literally bouncing ball, and that is literally,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's where it starts from because you have people looking at people in middle school and saying, "Hey, that's a prospect," and then you now have
Yeah,
people actively working on them to move them
yeah.
forward. But talk to me now, excuse me, about your recruiting. Are you able to recruit players, or you have to play with what comes to you in the school?
Well, there's a strict rule now of um. Well, I coach four different teams at school there. Three boys teams and one girls team. So for all my four teams, I am allowed two players that we would refer to as transfers per team. So therefore my foundation has to be solid, and then if I am looking two pieces outside, then I can look the pieces outside. But the rules are mainly in place so you can, you have to develop your players on your own and not really just
In, o-
scout and put your team together.
in other words, grow where you're planted.
Right.
All right. So, and your program now, your existing program has been dominant for what, 3 years?
Well, I wouldn't say 3 years. I would say for the past 10 years we have
Well,
been dominant.
no, I
What
got that.
what
But
has
what I mean in
happened?
terms of your team, this current team, especially
Team.
the under 19, under 16, which we're going to talk about that um, shortly. But
Right.
this team has been together for how long?
They've been together since the COVID break.
Okay, so you've had a pretty good
Yeah, man.
enough time to build.
After the COVID break, they had an under 15 competition because they were, I think, the two under 14 years had passed. So we won that under 15 competition. Came second the other year. Won the under 16 competition the third year, which I think we came third. I think for that first year, yes, first year of under 16, we came third in the island, on the national scene. For that second year, we were undefeated up until the national title. So far this group has played three national finals for 3 years. So the last one and the one two. So, you know.
So how many players are you losing, especially at the under 19s? For how many of your seniors are you losing this year?
Well, I'm losing the team. I'm
Wow,
losing the entire team. I'm losing up to I'm losing probably 12 to 13 players from that roster.
wow. So how do you figure now that that transition, the under 16s coming up are gonna be able to fill the slot?
Well, I run a program. We for the tournaments, it is sectioned up as under 14, under 16, and under 19. But I run one program. So the under 16s is just a matter of understanding what we have when we put them with the rest of the under 19 and see where we move from there. But I don't think we should have any problems coming in September.
Right. Well, you answered my next question really because most programs we see you have a coach who runs what we call varsity. Then you
Yeah.
have the junior varsity. In your case, you have under 19, under 16, under 14. But you just answered the question because if you run one program where everybody just comes in and fits in, then I can see why your prolonged success exists.
I was gonna say that well, and for the programs we run basically the same system. So we introduce them to the system for under 14, and we add something to it for under 16. We don't based on the experience and the intelligent level, because we play about maximum 20 games per season, which is nowhere for you to gather a lot of experience. So I don't burn them with a lot of things. So we add some stuff offensively, we add some stuff defensively when they move up to under 16. Depending on how the group is, especially like my under 19 team, I could step out of the box and teach other stuff based on how developed they were. But it is the same thing coming up. We just add and minus depending on the team roster that we have.
Right, X's and O's. But I mean, it's no mean feat, man, that you have the boys program. That's one thing, but you also add the girls program to it. Let's talk a little bit now about you. Tell us about your playing days and achievements.
Well, I didn't start playing until I left high school. That
Wow.
is the first thing. My coaches referred to me as athletic, so my development was a bit quicker than the others who started at my age. Uh, Played for my college, that would be Knox Community College, for a couple of years. I think out of my 4 years at Knox, we won 3 championships. I played for Team R in Manchester here as well. Moved from Team R to Manchester Pythons, which we moved on to win the national title. Probably still the only rural club team to win a national title. So from there, I moved on to officiating. As the playing days came to a lot, I moved on to officiating. Was very good at it as well. But when I tried coaching, that is where I fell in love, and I still do the officiating from time to time, but coaching is where my passion is now.
Great, great. And again, like you mentioned before, getting students at age 12. Well, your coach would have gotten you at what, age 19, 18,
No,
19 thereabouts?
around 16, 17. I think I
Yeah.
played my first year at 16, 17.
And at that,
Spent most of the time on the bench.
you're right. And at that
So,
point in time, most basketball players in other jurisdictions
yeah,
are already in college
yeah,
and are being heavily scouted.
heavily scouted.
Yeah. So in terms of scouting from Manchester, but overall in Jamaica, have you had players who have been scouted who would have gone overseas on scholarships and all that?
Well, I have players who have been scouted. I think, well, my academy wise, because I run my own academy as well. Academy wise, I have sent player overseas. I haven't been able to get any sent from Manchester High School, but I have players now who are being scouted based on the success of the team.
Right. So when these scouts come do they draw comparisons? What do they say are the strengths of the Jamaican players? Because obviously they're gonna draw comparisons with those in Jamaica as for the kids overseas.
One of the things that we hear often is that the only thing they need to teach the kids to do is play. When they have to teach the kids the other stuff, we're already athletic, we're already running and jumping, already have that speed and that quickness that they are looking for is just the lack of experience and the lack of intelligence of playing the game at a high level. So what we are trying to do, most coaches are trying to get it done, is sacrifice the program and get the kid out early if you see that the kid has that ability to make a life changing move.
Right. So what has been the drawback in your opinion as to why mini basketball has not taken off and there's not more investment in a program at that level?
Well, traditionally, Jamaica is run mini wise by three sports.
Football,
it is done. Football is one.
cricket,
Cricket is heavy down there, and track and field
track and
is
field.
probably the it is really hard to really find a space amongst those sports. But we are presently trying to get it done with this new movement that the Jamaica national team is causing. We are really trying to jump on the wagon to see if we can get this mini thing up and running. Because the
Right.
kids are really looking forward to it.
Right, right. Now, you and I we spoke before about you know, possibly inviting one of your teams for an overseas tournament, and I was looking at it with one of my coaching buddies, and his son is nationally recognized. He's a 28, I think, and he's nationally recognized, being heavily scouted at some of the top universities across the country. Have already brought him in for tours,
Tours,
right?
yeah.
And he showed his son some of your clips where you guys were actually playing outdoors. And it was a surprise to them because basketball in the United States is played mostly indoors
Mostly indoors.
on the hardwood. I know funding probably is gonna be your first answer, but what you think it would take to actually get more hardwood in Jamaica, and so we don't only have to depend on the GC Fosters and the other
Uh,
handful of schools who might have a hardwood.
Let me say now, schools who have indoor facilities. GC Foster is the only that's where we refer to as a school. It's a college, but still a school. This is the only school with a hardwood floor. The University of Technology, UTech, and UA, they have inside gyms, but it is not a hardwood floor.
Mm.
The same thing for Monroe College in my region here. They have a wonderful indoor gym. I think they have like a carpet surface over the concrete. So you're not playing on the concrete, you're playing on something softer. But it is still not hardwood. What we are looking at, or what would be wonderful, is to get one placed in each region. I think the first place they are looking at is your former region to put one based on the what they are calling, well, what it is sports tourism. So to get one on that side of the island, we know basketballers coming, NBA players coming from time to time and are looking places to work out, and which none is available on that side of the island. So that is the first place I think they should put one. But we should try and get one within each region. If we cannot get a fully closed hardwood, we could get a partially closed one. Because one of the main things that happens every year is we have a rainy season and we play outside. So our season tends to extend drastically based on the fact that we can't get an opportunity to play because there's nowhere to play when it rains.
Well, I tell you what, that regional thought has been on the cards now for a very long time. Getting an indoor facility that is of international standard in that region that you mentioned, which is the North Coast, Ocherius, possibly Mobe, has been mooted now for a long time. Still has not happened. So we pray that that will become a fruition shortly.
Yeah.
But when you tour with your players, do you find that the transition from the outdoor courts to indoor, does it affect them in any way? How do they adapt?
Yes, it affects them greatly. I remember when it affected me playing when I went to GC Foster for the Star Search camp, and you know, I remember sweating and not knowing what to do with the sweat because I'm sweating all over.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody said to me that you have to learn how to use the shoes. And it is a different atmosphere. You don't have to worry about the breeze blowing the ball, so you can relax and shoot the ball. A lot of kids struggle with it. I have friends who have gotten scholarships and went over the states who told me it takes them like 5 to 6 months to really get adapted
Wow.
to the change from outside to inside. So it's a big thing.
But for you now as a national coach, you're newly appointed national under 20, but you're also senior men's, which means that you're not a coach who is stuck at one level. You're looking to cover the entire spectrum. But how now do you prepare a national under 20 team, right? Which is basically a 16 to 19-year-olds on outdoor courts, because I'm sure GC Foster is not available all the time for your training. I mean, and then you have to take them probably overseas where they're now gonna play in a tournament where they don't have time to adjust
Inside.
to the hardwood or the indoor facility. How do you manage that?
Well, it's something I'm looking at taking on. Um, it's gonna be a difficult task if we don't have an opportunity to train consistently inside. The last junior team that I worked with for that was 2021 when we went to Mexico for the under 17. We trained fully inside for the 2 weeks. So I'm not sure that was arranged, and that was done at the National Sports Indoor Arena in Kingston. So it has a lot to do with planning. So once we stay ahead planning wise and we can secure a facility because it's gonna be a negative to the boys for them to train full time outside and then bring them inside for a game. And one of the other aspects of playing inside is that inside is always cold. And if you don't know how to stay warm or get warm quickly, that is another aspect of the thing. But players should always train in whatever environment they're going to play in.
Right. But also,
Right.
here's the other thing: if they end up, well, when they end up, let's say they were to play in a high school gym in the States. Now you're indoors, you probably have 500, 600, depending on how many people turn up for the event. Now they're in a closed environment where all the sounds are right there. Now you have to get used to cheering people. That's a whole other
um,
adjustment.
whole lot of adjustment. But it is said that no practice can simulate a game. But you can try to simulate the environment as best as you can, providing the equipment is top tier and you can get your environment to sound very similar to what they're going to play in. As I say, you can replicate it, but it won't be the same.
Yeah. Yeah, but you run your own program, your own academy. I think this now is a time for you to give us an idea of, I want to say, how people can actually help to make some of these facilities a reality, knowing that with Jamaica's sporting prowess, even with a non-traditional sport as basketball, we have exported a lot of talent overseas. But even for getting exporting the talent, just for the development of our youth overall, how now do you think we can move forward in developing these facilities that we're speaking of for the benefit? I mean, I know the regional plan and all of that, but that sounds more long term because, like I said, that's been years in the making. say
Yeah.
within 2-3 years, how do you think that something like that could be achieved? Even one indoor facility that is open to players on a regular basis.
Well, I think it goes down to the funding. Just getting the necessary funding to get that establishment up. Um, Once it goes up, I think it will take care of itself based on how needy it is presently. So that is just the funding right now. I think the land space is not an issue. We don't even worry about where it will go. You understand? Um, but the funding to get that facility up.
Right.
And as I say, it doesn't have to be a fully enclosed one. We just need something that replicates the actual thing for now.
Right.
So we can get into that long term thing after.
Mm. One of the things that programs struggle with in Jamaica is that a lot of the players, the student athletes, they're not from affluent backgrounds. So sometimes they don't have the money to travel to
Hmm.
training or just money overall to sustain them being in a program, whether it's just to have proper footwear or whatever they need personally. How do you I'm sure that is something that you encounter every day. How do you take care of that?
Something that it is part of your job description when you sign up as a coach. It
Comes with the
is fu- it, do-
territory.
it doesn't matter which sport you coach. Once you sign up as a coach, at times you have to provide the lunch money. You have to provide the fare if the fare is lost to get home. Um, shoes. Well, when it comes to the shoes, it's just a matter of reaching out. One thing that I love about your environment is that most of as I said, with the indoor, most of the kids that play indoor, after a certain time, they don't want that shoes anymore for some reason. But if it is sent to somewhere like Jamaica, it has like a 3 or 4 more year lifespan depending on where it is being used. So I have a lot of persons that I reached out to. Um, the other day, recently, Miami Heat superstar Norman Powell. Norman donated some shoes to my program for our season this year. So it is just about reaching out. You basically have to stock up when you get them, and you have to just ensure that everybody has one. When I was playing, I used to take away my coach's shoes. So I think it's just I never refer to it as karma or full circle, but it's as I say, it's just part of the job description when you take it.
Well, you were lucky that you and your coach were the same size, or you had to stuff it.
Ah,
So then on that point, then that means you're always looking for and always open to whatever help you can get for the program.
yes, man. Because even I have left Manchester here and visited York Castle to pick up one pair of shoes for a young man, a size 6. I couldn't find it anywhere, and the coach reached out to me and said he had one, and I went for it. So at times, the sacrifice is needed, on our part, not just the players' part, to get the job done.
Yeah. And let's talk about discipline now. I know that a lot of coaches, teachers complain about the discipline of the now generation. In terms of basketball players in Jamaica, how difficult it is for you to keep players level-headed and focused.
Well, let me start by saying, teenagers will be teenagers,
Absolutely.
boys will be boys too. So it is just matter of communicating with them. Let them understand what is truly up ahead for them, so they can keep focused on what we need to get done. As I said, they're teenagers, they will get distracted from time to time. So it's just for us as the coaches, our parents, our guardians to just keep them on that road that we need them on. Discipline wise, I think everybody is struggling now with the generation. And normally I don't have the problems in terms of discipline, and this year I had some trouble in terms of discipline. So I realized that something is changing. So it's either the coach has to get stricter with his policies and stuff, or something else must be done in terms of rules and stuff governing the program and the behavior of the young people.
Right.
But I think it's something everybody is struggling with. You know, players change, and as coaches, what I saw recently in the States is that most of the NCAA coaches that I am aware that I used to look up to and follow their programs, they retired because they can no longer deal with the generation. No, but I think I still have some more years battling with them before I come to that.
Yeah, because a lot of people who, especially if someone is not into coaching, they would not understand that as a coach, you're not just teaching the game. Your big brother, your father, like you said before,
Hmm.
your financier, your counselor. You become everything for your student athletes, especially for those who might not come from certain environments where so they come from environments where some things are lacking. You have to now identify all of those gaps and then try to fill them.
And especially here in Jamaica, where for most of my career I was on the sideline by myself. So all of those things that you refer to there, I was all in one. I was the medic as well,
Wow.
and the physio and the doctor, and as I say, a friend on the bench one time to time, and then the coach has to be the coach, and yeah, it's a difficult place to be. Things have gotten a lot better in terms of assistance for me on the bench in terms of the parents have been doing a wonderful job this year of providing support. A lot of weight has been lifted off me for the last probably 2 to 3 years in terms of how helpful the parents are. I really have to say thanks to them for all they have done in terms of, taking some pressure off me so I can just coach.
Okay, great, great. But what is it that keeps you going though? What is your motivation, your inspiration? Where do you find the strength from to deal with this on a day-to-day basis? And let me point out that you're not just dealing with one team. You're dealing with under 19, under 16, under 14 boys. But
Yeah.
you're also
And
coaching the ladies.
and I will say at times they're all on the court at the same time. So one coach, 60 kids.
Wow.
Um, the planning has to be on point. Communication. Another thing is, having leaders on your teams. So I can give the captains the instructions and the captains, carry out the instructions while I am doing something else. Fully inspired by my coach before me, Michael Stevenson. He tried to get
Team
a
Park.
lot of what I am doing now done.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He's the first coach to win a rural high schoolboy title. So I remember him trying to get a lot of things done, and most of the things that he wasn't able to do, I am getting done now. So that is where my inspiration comes from, as well as just watching these kids grow. I am I tend to falter in terms of loving the game and instead of coaching the game. So this year I had like 20 kids on my team because it took some time for me to tell a player that you cannot make the final list based on how close we are.
Wow.
So it's just for me it is just sharing the sport, trying to get it across to as much people as I can, whether you'll be, you know, whether you just play for high school or you move to college and play, it doesn't matter to me. I just want you to, more persons to know the sport. That is where my inspiration comes from.
All right, great. Do you get sponsorships? Like, do you have companies who chip in from time to time to help you with expenses?
No, we have to, now what we started to do as of late is, to get letters out to really get sponsorship. But, school is entirely on its own. Players, parents, as I say, we get together and see what we can get done, so these kids can participate in the competition.
Right, right. And overall, now from a an island-wide standpoint with your in your assignment as national under 20 coach, I'm sure you would have seen a lot of the players across the islands. How confident are you that you will have a good cohort of players from which to pick a strong enough team to develop for national duties?
Well, we have started putting the list together. I'm fully aware of the players that I'm looking at. Some of them I've battled with over the last 2 to 3 years. I think we'll take some players from overseas as well. But I think the majority of the players will be homegrown players. Um, some players presently are playing with the Phase One program. I'm not sure if you're aware of the Phase One AAU travel program.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just, you know, putting that list together now, fully aware of who I am looking at. Just waiting for overseas players to confirm, and then we'll get the word out.
All right, great. Well, hey, Coach Sullivan, you have the floor, you have the con. We know, I understand fully what it takes to run any form of a youth program in Jamaica where I don't care how good you are, how good your program is and how much you're producing, you really never seem to get anybody or very few people if any to pump funds your way so you can continue with the good work. So we're going to leave the floor for you now to make an appeal to people in the diaspora, companies, whoever who is willing to come and support a program like yours that in my mind is not limited to basketball. It's about developing our future, which we know the children are the future. And obviously you would know that because again, I'm going to say it again because this is very, very unusual. The man
Yeah.
coaches under 19, under 16, under 14, and also coaches girls. Now, let me not mention, I don't want to go there, some of the differences and things that can occur when you're coaching male versus female. Let's not even go there. But, the floor is yours, man. Make an appeal.
All right, people. Coach Damon Sullivan here from Manchester High School. Jamaica National Under 20 coach and senior men's coach. I'm just putting the word out there, appealing for anybody willing to assist. Um, you know, we are here you know, trying to get to all the young people that we see basically on the street to get them off the street and put them in something positive, which is for one. So any help is good help, whether it be shoes, clothes, ball, equipment, you know, whatever it takes to get us on this journey that we're on, and to continue winning and continue, helping these young men to move forward in their lives. So again, any assistance is good assistance. So thank you.
Tell the people how they can reach out to you.
Well, I am on Facebook, Damon Sullivan. I'm on Instagram, Coach Sullivan 15. Same thing for TikTok. We have our school page as well, Manchester High Basketball on Instagram. For the persons who want to do their research as well on how the program is going, we have Manchester High Basketball on YouTube where we post our games. So, all the games for the season are up. You can go and you can watch.
And of course, there's a great lady by the name of Miss Parkins. Parkins, we know that she does yeoman's work in supporting her alma mater or alma mater,
Yes,
Chester.
yes.
So, but are you a Chester graduate?
No, I'm not a Chester graduate.
Yeah.
I'm a Manning. I'm a Manning Zalo.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're not. I thought you were in the in the rival range. You know, don't tell me that you're from
No,
DC or
oh no, no. I'm
Knox
Manchester
or
born, do you know? I'm Manchester born. I went to Mount St. Joseph Prep School, but I went to Westmoreland for high school.
oh, you went to one of the bourgeoisie prep schools. All right. Yeah. All right, coach. Well, man, thanks for talking to us. Want to wish you all the best. In everything you do, at the local level, and just thanks for all you do for the student athletes, for the country, and if there's anything that we can do to help you to achieve those goals, please do not hesitate to reach out.
I will. Thanks.
Yeah, man. One other thing how could I not ask you this? Your
Yes.
assistant senior men's coach. Now you just had a great run, history making run, basically, um,
Right.
in at a FIBA level where Jamaica actually hosted um, some action recently. Talk to us about your experience at the national level.
Well, it is eye-opening. I'm having a great time, enjoying myself. Um, the sponging up whatever I can sponge up in terms of, learning. A lot of stuff that we ran this year in terms of what we did for the under 19 program is some of the stuff that I learned on my national journey so far. So it has been very productive. I had an opportunity to bring my boys to both games as well. So they got a really good idea of, you know, some stuff that we struggle with within our program and see how it dealt with at the professional level. So it is, as I say, eye-opening for me, and I am enjoying my journey.
Yeah. Do you how do you adjust to working with like some of those pros, big time college players who have played at a very high level and are playing at a very high level? Of course, you're not a Rick Pitino or any of them top coaches. No, you're coaching basically these top players. How do you deal with that?
Well, it is no different. They are still players, and I am still the coach. It is easier to deal with though, in terms of the players at that pro level are basically knowledgeable coaches. They just play. So it is the information and is easier to translate. The communication is easier to deal with. Um, the it's one of the hardest things for me is to leave that scene and come back home to my Manchester High team. So it as I said, it's a professional level. It should be easier, and it is easier.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, man, as I said before, I want to wish you all the best on your journey, and feel free to reach out if there's anything we can do to help you. Plus, also, we're working on something where we'd like to invite some of your players to come and play in a tournament here
And
too.
I'm really hoping it works out. Yeah,
Yeah,
man, really, really hoping it works out.
it's the same thing on this end, but again, as you know, sometimes logistics and a lot of things
Yeah, 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 yeah.
have to come into place. But we're actively working on it, so we will definitely be reaching out to you and Miss Parkins and keeping you abreast
Yes.
of what's happening.
All right. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you, coach. You have a great one.
Yes, you too.
All righty.